Hello there. I have quite the presentation for you. I'm not the biggest anime head in the world, but I have quite been enjoying Jujutsu Kaisen. I watched the first 2 seasons, and it was really good. It had great animation, it had great characters, and a pretty fun power system. It's a pretty wacky power system, and that's why there's a lot of people that talk about the power scaling of it. So I've got my great little mustard outfit on, and a nice tall glass of chocolate milk, and I'll be discussing who the strongest of the characters in this series is, especially because the manga is about to end. Now, there are manga spoilers, so if you've only seen the first 2 seasons or not seen any of it, you will get spoiled, so you might have to deal with that. I'm going to take a sip of this real quick. Gotta love some good old chocolate milk. Now, I was just going to do a top 10 of my own, just talk about who I think are the strongest characters and the most capable characters, yada yada yada. But I went, I'm going to do something more fun than that, and a little less of my own bias, and I'm going to group in a bunch of people's opinions and a bunch of decently informed people's opinions. Now, a lot of these people on this subreddit, it's Reddit after all, they're very biased and they're kind of stupid. But, you know, everybody's got a little bit of that. Everybody's got a little bit of the reading comprehension curse. But still, I was thinking an average is going to be better than my own. Maybe. So I went onto Reddit and I asked this subreddit, the Jujutsu Power Scaling subreddit, to give me their top 10. And they love making top 10s. They make their top 10 most powerful characters all the time. So I knew they were gonna, a lot of them already had their opinion on the top 10. So they just throw it right to me. And I was right. It got 234 comments. Now a lot of those are replies, but that was still enough for me. And for a while, it had like well over 50 comments, but only 3 upvotes. You know you're in a pretty chatty community when you get that going. And now I'm going to talk about how I actually graded the characters. I could have made like an Excel spreadsheet where I made it extremely complicated. Well, it's not really that complicated, but it would have taken more time. I could have made an Excel spreadsheet and like gotten a bunch of little stats and figures, and that would have been cool. But I just did a simple point system just so I can get the top 10 of the average of the subreddit. This point system, it's pretty funny because I even counted all the people that were joking. So yeah, you got people that put Bob, you know, Bob. Somebody put Bob. That's not a character in this show. There's nobody just named Bob. At least I'm pretty sure. I never saw Bob. I didn't read a Bob. Maybe he's one of the American soldiers during that weird little moment where there was American soldiers. I have no clue. And somebody really liked Granny Ogami. You know, that character that was in like 2 seconds of the show and like 1 page of the manga. Yeah, she's the GOAT for sure. But anyways, let's just get right to it. Top 10. Now, number 10 is pretty insane. Number 10 is Takaba. I was very surprised by this result. He's not even in a lot of people's top 10s. But the reason he got to where he is I counted all the people that put him at 0 tier. Now, I asked for top 10s, but if you're saying he's so powerful that he is truly above number 1 and everybody else, and he's in his own league, well, I gotta give him some points for that. I can't give him 0. That's dumb. So I gave special credit for if you put him at number 0. So I'd give him 11 points each time that happened. Now, that might be a little flawed, because just so you know how my point system works, if you're ranked the number 1 most powerful, you get 10 points, and then it descends. It's that simple. But yeah, if I just thought it would be funny in Takaba's spirit, as he is the comedian sorcerer, that if somebody puts him at 0, he gets 11 points. So that's what I did. Takaba, he's pretty insane. He's actually pretty unkillable even by the most powerful sorcerers. So I actually can understand why you'd want to put him at top 10, but he's also not very violent, and he's pretty inconsistent, because how he works is just anything he finds funny, it just happens, which is conceptually the most powerful technique in the entire series, but he has to apply it. The best thing he has done is stalled Kenjaku so he can get snuck attack by Yuta, which it worked. And he held him out for a long time. So I have to give him some credit. And putting him at 10th, I don't think is super crazy, but I do think it is the most controversial placement in this list. If I didn't do Takaba the way I did, number 10 would have been Urame. And, you know, that I feel like a lot of people think Urame deserves this place more. But I honestly don't even care that much, because we haven't truly seen Urame's kit. We could just have to assume they're powerful. Anyways, number 9. Yeah, I'm not going to read everything I put in all of these slides, because it gets pretty crazy. Sometimes I had more to mention about some characters than others. I actually wanted to even include a couple more things about Maki and Toji. They're just very interesting characters, and they get a lot of screen time and explanation, and there's a lot to their abilities because they don't work like anybody else. They're technically just humans. They're not jujutsu sorcerers. They have no cursed energy, but since they are in the Zenin clan, which is one of the big 3 families, they have what's called a heavenly restriction, where they trade having a cursed technique for insane physical stats, enhanced senses, unbelievable speed, so a form of precognition, because they can just kind of feel the world with their enhanced senses in a better way, so they can dodge attacks even from faster opponents. I mean, hell, Maki even double jumps through the air like she's a Smash character. It's absolutely insane crap. And a lot of people, I noticed this all over the place. A lot of people downplay them. I actually put them even higher than this, because their showings have been really impressive. I mean, Toji was running across water like it was nothing. That takes like Mach 30 speeds. Maki dealt with Mach 3 cursed Naoya slamming into her over and over again. Took it like a boss and started dodging him like it was nothing. And the most egregious thing about them is that they have cursed tools, and that's what they have to use to do damage to cursed spirits and stuff. They use cursed tools. But the thing is, what makes it pretty crazy is that they both, in their prime, have the best cursed tool in the series. The Split Soul Katana is absolutely broken. A lot of people mention the Inverted Spear of Heaven. The Inverted Spear of Heaven is a anti-Gojo weapon. I'm sorry, it can apply to some other fighters, but in the vast majority of cases, the Split Soul Katana is way better, because what it does is it strikes the soul and ignores all durability and hardness. That is how it is stated. So it will just one-shot anybody. Like, it can one-shot anybody except Gojo, because it's not going to hit Gojo. So it is absolutely wild. Like, that's so unbelievably strong. And I know that Sukuna's survived a couple hits from it, but that's because he's so unbelievably fast that when Maki pierced Sukuna's heart, he was able to even jump out of that before she could, like, rise it upwards and slice him in half. And maybe there's a chance that she didn't do the slicing in half strategy or the cutting the head off strategy because of sparing Megumi. It's kind of a debate whether that's true or not, but either way, it was able to slice off one of Sukuna's hands like it was butter. She's unbelievably fast. So is Toji. They have some crazy curse tools, insane senses. Yeah, and Maki was even able to dodge the world-cutting slash from Sukuna, which is what finished off Gojo, and it was invisible. Maki's extra amazing senses is the reason she was able to dodge it. So that's pretty crazy, and they're kind of goated. So anyways, next up, number 8. By the way, there's a big difference between number 10 and number 9. A difference of nearly 40 points. Yeah, Maki and Toji hitting triple digits, and it's going to stay. It's going to keep rising pretty quickly, and it's going to stay triple digits, that's for sure. Next up is Kashimo. Now, you may notice I have a lot less about Kashimo, because I just think this subreddit's obsessed with him. There were so many people, like this bottom person here, that put Kashimo at like 3rd, just absolutely obscene takes, when all he's ever done is taken 2 L's, one of them to a character that didn't even make this list. He would have gotten 11th or 12th. His technique, if he actually uses it, he's gonna die, which, I mean, I know that technically he can still get a dub by like using his technique, killing someone, and then he dies later, but it's like, yeah, that would be a win, but he still dies. I don't really know what to think about that, but either way, I don't even think he should really be here, because like he did even worse against Sukuna than everybody. Hell, even Lorue or whatever, however his name is pronounced, did more against Sukuna than Kashimo. Like, no, it's not that. It's not pronounced that way. It's Laru. That's his name. Laru. Laru's ass did more against Sukuna than Kashimo. Like, the good thing about him is that he's got like sure hit lightning attacks. Those are really good. They're hard to avoid, and if you don't have amazing reverse curse technique, you might be screwed. He's pretty like fast and will get up close. He does have a curse tool. It's a cool little staff. He was able to obliterate Panda, but Panda got so power corrupt in the series that it doesn't like mean anything to me. But I think he's only here because of a bunch of Kashimo fanboys. Yeah, and also gotta mention, he's one of the few characters that doesn't have a domain in this list. He can just defend himself with Hollow Wicker Basket, but having anti-domain techniques has been shown over and over again is so much worse than having a domain and starting a tug-of-war. Hollow Wicker Basket and Simple Domain are both kind of trash. I mean, they're better than nothing, but get a domain, honey. It's not a good look. And the last thing I want to mention is, I didn't mention it about Maki and Toji, but also, yeah, they're immune to domains. Since they have no cursed energy, the sure hit attack doesn't detect them. Now, that doesn't mean they're immune to domains completely, it just means they're immune to the most scary part of a domain. If it's something like the ambient heat of Jogo's domain, that would still hit. But also, they can just leave domains. They don't trap Maki or Toji in. Since they also have zero cursed energy, they can just go in between barriers. So yeah, I could have added yet another point to this list. Dude, I swear, they're broken. So underplayed. But that's my bias coming in. These are the points. Kashimo has way more, which is absurd. But anyways, next up, 7th is Yorozu. She is pretty insanely powerful. She's from the Heian era. She has actually Maki's sister Mai's technique, but has got a lot more cursed energy and is much better at using it. And she makes cool little bug armor for herself, which gives her pretty crazy physicals. She did pretty well against Sukuna. Now, this was Sukuna not really trying that hard, and he was restricting himself by only using Megumi's technique. And Yeah, he wasn't going as hard as he could, but even then, she did show a pretty strong display. And she has this really cool move where she can summon a perfect sphere. And when she constructs a perfect sphere, since it's an actual perfect sphere, it has infinite pressure. So anything she would use it against will die. And she actually uses her domain to make that the sure hit. So if you don't start a tug of war, or are immune to sure hits, or something like that, you're probably just gonna die. The people who aren't great against domains, yeah, they're getting swept. Sukuna had Maharaga bail him out. Kind of typical. Anyways. Next up is Yuji. Yuji has really leveled up throughout. I used to be kind of a little bit of a doubter. Like, I used to say that people were overplaying Yuji's growth, but he just keeps proving me wrong, and I've joined the train. I've joined the Yuji train. His strength is absolutely absurd. The series started with him being crazy strong, and it's only gotten crazier and crazier. I mean, he's able to keep up with Heian era Sukuna pretty solidly. I know that he's very weakened, but I mean, it's Sukuna. Yeah, he's got to be weakened for that to be true, but even then, that's a crazy stat. And he'll be punched across buildings and he'll be fine. He's gotten very good at reverse curse technique, and he's just kind of got the whole kit now. He used to just be, oh, I punch and kick people, but he's aware of the soul. He got blood manipulation. He got a domain expansion, a simple domain as well. He's very good at healing himself now with RCT, especially with some advice from Chozo and use of blood manipulation, which makes you better at healing yourself. And he's also the GOAT of hitting black flashes. The previous record holder of hitting black flashes was Nanami with 4. Yuji, upon the first time doing it, quickly ties his record a few minutes later, and then later in the series, he hits Sukuna with like 8 in a row. I've seen some people say 7. I thought when I was reading it was 8. I might have to reread the chapter, but whether it's 7 or 8, that's still the record by a lot. He be hitting black flashes that are hurting crazy. And he's got Divergent Fist, which is always like surprising to his opponents, because his fist will just hit him really hard first, and then the cursed energy comes after. And yeah, that'll definitely surprise people. He's pretty crazy, and he's done the most damage to Sukuna by far, other than Gojo, of course. He gets the second place in the Sukuna raid for sure. Alright, next up is Yuki. I was expecting Yuki to get 5th, and you can see that there's a pretty big gap. Number 8, 7, and 6 were the most interestingly close to each other. That was definitely the little bit of a war that was going on, while the rest of the list is pretty set in stone. And if you follow the power scaling scene of this series at all, you probably know what's going to happen, although there is a lot of debate between 4th and 3rd, so I know that will be pretty interesting for some people. But yeah, Yuki's pretty crazy. She is one of the confirmed special grade sorcerers, and it's mostly because her technique is just absurdly powerful. Star Rage is pretty crazy because she can just apply virtual mass to herself and her Shikigami Garuda, which is this cool little snake guy. And that thing can create a little bit of a 2-on-1 situation, and when she applies mass to both of them, she would be able to like pound down and one-shot most characters in the series, because you can see with her punches, there's a lot of destructive power, and she's fighting Kenjaku, who is like dominantly one of the best sorcerers of all time, and she is making him shaking his boots a little bit, and he had to have some crazy ass pulls and cheese from techniques we've never seen before to even not die to Yuki. I actually think it would have been a lot cooler if Yuki and Kenjaku like traded. She went 1-for-1. She died, but so did he. That's kind of what she went for, and the way Kenjaku survived it was kind of stupid, and then he gets killed not too long after anyways. So I didn't really see the point. But yeah, she kind of has the full kit. She does have reverse curse technique. She does, she's probably like one of the best at using the simple domain because she's taught it to a lot of people as well. Like Todo and Mekamaru. I think they said Mekamaru learned it from her. I'm pretty sure. She does have a domain expansion. We haven't seen what it does. Considering her technique, I would assume it lets her like apply a bunch of virtual mass to the opponent and smush them, something like that, or crush them. That would be pretty cool. I actually would like that. But yeah, there's not a ton to talk about her because she's only really had one fight, and she put up a good fight, but she did lose. A 0-1 record. All right, 4th place is Yuta, and you can see this massive jump, an 135-point jump. Now, Yuta is pretty crazy and is at the top, near the top for a lot of people, because he's a natural prodigy. He's got insane versatility because he is the Kirby of this universe, because he copies people's techniques. Now, I didn't really, in these little points, I didn't really mention his flaws. He does have a couple. For instance, he has a 5-minute timer with what he copies. And that just makes it so some techniques, he really can't make use out of copying them. For instance, if he copied 10 shadows or cursed spirit manipulation, you have to spend a decent amount of time like gathering / taming for those techniques. And yeah, he wouldn't get the time to do that. But the craziest thing about Yuta is that there's 3 things that are absolutely wild about Yuta. So he has the copy technique, which lets him get a bunch of other people's techniques. He has Rika, which is this giant monster that helps him fight and is huge, massively strong, has like giant scary teeth, these huge arms, and helps him immensely in fights. Turns every fight into a pretty devastating 2v1. And he has the 2nd most amount of cursed energy. He has even more cursed energy than Gojo. He's not as efficient with it as Gojo, but he has an absurd amount of cursed energy. And it's because he apparently has like a super blessed bloodline. Like he's the product of like 2 super strong sorcerers. And he does have a domain expansion, and we have seen it, and it is really good. And he's also kind of 500 IQ with some of his plans. He comes up with some pretty interesting long-term plans. Now, I think all of them are a little bit stupid, because I think the Sukuna raid could have been handled definitely a lot better. Like I saw some people mentioning recently, it would have been pretty genius if he just like, if they just went, hey, Nobara might not even come back, so let Rika eat Nobara's arm so he can get Nobara's technique, and help Gojo during the Sukuna fight. That would have easily given Gojo the dub. That is actually probably the best like little plan I've seen people create for what they should have done to win instead. I've seen some people create some theories on what they should have done that don't even really work. Anyways, I'm rambling. Number 3 is Kenjaku. I'm pretty glad to see that Kenjaku was many points above Yuta. I see a lot of people put Yuta above Kenjaku, but they even state that no person in their little army of good guys that they have, since Gojo isn't around at the time, none of them can take on Kenjaku by themselves, and most likely not even if they teamed up. They had to create a pretty specific plan. That's why the plan that ended up in Kenjaku's death required 3 people. Takaba to distract Kenjaku, Todo to teleport Yuta in, and then Yuta to put a ton of curse energy into his katana and slice his head off. It was a pretty good plan, but it shows how elaborate you have to be to take down someone like Kenjaku, who is a genius with 1,000 years of experience. He's the best barrier user in the series, along with Tengen. He has multiple techniques, like he has curse spirit manipulation, he has like gravity, and I assume he has probably even some of the other techniques of his previous bodies that he used to inhabit, because he has his last body's technique. We don't know how it works for sure. It's actually a technique they haven't fully explained, which I really hope they do with the couple of chapters left. But curse spirit manipulation is an unbelievably amazing technique. It has so much versatility. You can summon so many curses, and there's not really any downsides to the technique. It's very good, and you can even extract, for instance, other extremely overpowered techniques, like when he ate mojito. So you can stack super overpowered techniques. It's wild. And Kenjaku is one of only 2 characters that has an open domain expansion, which means it could even affect characters like Maki and Toji, which is pretty insane. Now I will say, a lot of people call him, I did call him a genius earlier. He's a kind of a genius. People don't think about it. A lot of his plans, only very slight differences, like straight up like butterfly effect stuff, would have made them not work out. He's so incredibly lucky. He's unbelievably lucky with how things worked out. Heck, Gojo could have killed Jogo faster, and then that would have screwed with his plans a little bit. Similar thing with Mojito even, and the Shibuya incident. The sealing of Gojo was definitely a little fishy, and there are multiple different ways that could have gone wrong. Yeah, I mean, it's like pretty smart stuff, but I feel like there are even smarter ways. I don't know. But Kenjaku, pretty dominant number 3, but we're going to see a massive gap because the obvious second place is Gojo. My goat Gojo coming in here with 611 points. Much higher. Actually, a lot of people put him number 1 because a lot of people think Gojo got cheesed. Sukuna kept using binding vows. He kept depending on Maharaga, which is from somebody else's technique. Kinda pussy, not gonna lie. Gojo, he has like enhanced perception from 6 Eyes, and 6 Eyes also gives him insane curse energy efficiency. He has one of the best uses of a reverse curse technique ever. He heals himself an insane amount, heals his own brain, can heal whole limbs. He's healing himself like a curse does. Infinity just makes it so unless you use a domain expansion against him, or the inverted spear of heaven, or maybe Nobara's technique, if you don't use something very specific like that, you just can't touch him at all. Characters have to use the incredibly specific domain amplification, which we've only seen a couple characters do, and is apparently incredibly hard to even try to touch Gojo. It's the best. This combo of 6 Eyes plus Infinity is or Limitless is the best technique in the series by far, and it also not only has defensive uses, as he is basically untouchable by anything, but he also gets some offensive uses because he gets to use red, blue, and purple. I should have said blue first because blue is his natural one, but blue will use Infinity to attract things towards it. Red is a little ball that does the opposite. It repels and is an incredibly amazing attack. And when he mixes the two, it creates Hollow Purple, which is just a giant ball of destruction, very Dragon Ball-like. And seriously, he is the only one even close to full power Sukuna in power, so he was absolutely needed to start that fight. No other squad would have been able to beat Sukuna. Like, Gojo is required, and he is the best, not only does he have Infinity plus 6 eyes? They've mentioned that there's been other people that have had it in the past, but Gojo's the best of them. It's pretty clear that Gojo is just Gojo. He's insane. He can even do random crap like float and teleport, and he's the one of only 2 characters that can just pop domain expansions over and over again. His domain expansion itself is insane. Infinite Void just flooding your head with infinite information, just making you brain dead on the spot so he can get free hits, free kills. If you can't block it with cursed energy at all, then you will just be like brain dead forever. Otherwise, you'll be frozen up for a little while, and Gojo can get a free ass hit. It's pretty crazy stuff, and it's actually it was affecting Sukuna all the way to the end of Shinjuku Showdown, which is pretty crazy. Infinite Void is wild. Now, number 1, unsurprisingly, he overall did get the most votes. It is Sukuna. Now, you might even notice, yeah, there definitely was a decent amount of people that have voted Gojo pretty dang high, because that gap is not the biggest in the world. Yeah, there's a much bigger gap between Gojo and Kenjaku than there is between Gojo and Sukuna. And there's actually an even bigger gap between between Yuta and Kenjaku as there is with Gojo and Sukuna. So that's pretty wild. But yeah, I mean, Sukuna, he's the main crazy villain of the series for a reason. His birth was considered a calamity. He's the most powerful sorcerer of all time. What I really got to mention about him, like, he has everything, by the way. He has a crazy open domain that also is the largest domain and can break other domains. He also can use it the most. He's very good at fighting up close. He's the only character that can do these little jumping around in the air battles with Maki. I bet Gojo could too, but Gojo and Maki haven't fought. I don't think they need to, and that's an even worse matchup for her. His reverse curse technique is wild. He's been able to heal whole organs. He can heal whole soul damage because he also is aware of the soul. He has an absurd battle IQ. He's always thinking of strategies. He's always thinking of what the opponent's strategy is. He's always thinking of what little clever workarounds he can use. Despite being so unbelievably more powerful than everybody else, he's always thinking much harder than he really needs to a lot of times, but it really did help him in the end. And yeah, he's really crazy in most ways. But I will say he's a little privileged because he also just has by far the most cursed energy. Gojo has way less cursed energy than him and was giving him straight hands. Gojo at certain points of that fight was beating the shit out of him. That's kind of embarrassing. That's like if I was born twice the height of someone and they just beat the shit out of me. And I think Sukuna even has more than twice as much curse energy as Gojo, but I don't remember exactly the amounts. I do know Sukuna is the highest though. But one thing I will say, kind of cringe, he needed Mahoraga to not die to Gojo. That time where he got hit by an Infinite Void and then Mahoraga had to bail him out. I mean, he would have gotten a free Hollow Purple to the dome if Mahoraga didn't save him there. So, all I'm saying, kind of lame. Gojo's kind of Goat Joe. I do acknowledge that Sukuna is more powerful, and the subreddit has spoken. The averages have spoken. But if it's a Goat tier list, Goat Joe wins. Just saying. Just putting that out there. I think he's more impressive overall, even though he was also like blessed with an insane technique. And by the way, the last thing I'll mention is I actually don't think Sukuna's technique is the very best in the series. I mean, heck, there's a reason he was so interested in Megumis. I do think 10 Shadows is better than Shrine. I think part of the reason Shrine seems so good is because somebody as powerful as Sukuna is backing it. If somebody with trash amount of cursed energy had Shrine, people would be getting paper cuts. Yeah, there's a lot of factors that decide how good a technique is, and if everyone had exactly equal cursed energy, Shrine doesn't have the most utility in the series. Not at all. Oh crap. One last thing about Sukuna. I thought I was done. I'm not done. I gotta mention Fuga. Every time he's pulled out Fuga, which is this random attack they haven't explained why he has. People have only theorized about it. But he pulls out the fire, and it's this massive fiery explosion. And I will say, even his crazy domain and Gojo's hollow purple, if you actually see their like lethality rates, if you think about how many times it's been used and got the kill, they're both like not amazing. People have survived Malevolent Shrine, and people have survived Hollow Purple. Even Hanami has survived Hollow Purple. It only hit him partially, but that's still kind of crazy. But Fuga, every time Fuga has been used, it got at least one kill. And nobody has really tanked it. People have only really avoided it as Todo clapped away Miwa, Maki, and Ino. Although I don't know how he clapped away Maki. Boogie Woogie works through things that have cursed energy. Maki does not. I don't understand that. I love Maki and I want her to be alive, but actually, logically, I don't think it makes much sense. But yeah, Fuga gets a kill every single time. It has killed Chozo, Maharaga, and Jogo. Fuga's pretty goated. People talk about his other techniques. I gotta give it up to Fuga. Fuga's broken. I want to learn more about the conditions of it, but it's already Jover. Sukuna did just lose to No Bar Goat, to Goat Bara. Anyways, Reddit's decided that's your top 10. Live with it.